Fantasy football playoffs are closer than you think, and holding on to the wrong players could absolutely destroy your season. You cannot afford to make these mistakes in week 8 and beyond. In this video, I'm going to reveal the must-have studs you need to get on your team right now, and the duds, the guys that suck, you need to either drop or trade for. Guys, this is very, very important. Now, at the end of the video, stay to the end. If you guys are really, really passionate about your team and want to win, I'm going to reveal my 5 favorite players you need to acquire on your team right now that look really good for the rest of the season, and a couple of them are slightly under the radar. So very, very important, guys. Everything is at stake here right now. We are heading into fantasy football week 8. So make sure you guys do smash it, tap it, slap it. I got a good video here for you. We're going to go through every single position and filter out all the pretenders and look for the guys that are the studs and the real deal. I'm ready to get in this video. The energy's high. Fantasy football week 8 is here. Let's get to it. All right, guys, welcome to the show, man. This past week was wild. There's a bunch of good games. It was absolutely crazy, and I was right on pretty much every single game on the straight up. So if you guys have not got the Counselor's Edge, secure the Counselor's Edge below. I've linked it below. Get the edge and win on bets straight up, and also my props as well, and against the spread. This is the place to get the picks. I've created it, Counselor's Edge. I've linked it below. Get the edge in sports bets right now. You can sign up here and you're going to get access to my picks every single week. Let's win together. All right, let's dive into this video. Let's pull up all of the, if you're new to the channel, guys, make sure you guys smash it, tap it, slap it. Let's talk about all the studs and duds of the past week, and let's filter out who are the guys that are like the winners, who are the guys that are the sucks. Let's go through it, guys. Let's talk about who is actually going to help you win your league for the rest of the season, okay? Because there's a lot of duds in here. You need to be aware of it. So let's go through it. Now, when you talk about the quarterbacks, Russell Wilson back, and he has himself a good week. Is he good for the rest of the season? Absolutely. Him and Pickens were connecting. I mean, this is a guy you could definitely trade for if you're desperate at quarterback. Now, mind you, he's coming off this big week, so you're like, let me just move my picture here. He's coming off this big week. He's going to be expensive. I still think people, might not believe in him. So because he's been under the radar, there's no recency bias to other than this past week. Maybe a guy you want to trade for because he did look good yesterday. 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, the top quarterback, again, excluding the Monday night games. Jalen Hurts looking good, back to form again. When his receivers are back, he does better. Josh Allen finally getting into the groove. We did see Amari Cooper first game, dropped the first ball, and then after that, I think he got that touchdown. And Keon Coleman, which we'll get to wide receivers in a second, looking like the one, because I told you that they're going to now put the top corner to Amari Cooper. It's going to open things up for Keon Coleman. He's really growing into his own, okay? So you might want to look to get Keon Coleman. I still think he's the one. Josh Allen, we got Drake May here, Marcus Mariota. I don't know if that's not sustainable. We got Jaden Daniels go with an injury. Hopefully he's okay. Jared Goff. I mean, this is another guy. I mean, my main focus here for this episode is who do you want to get on your team? Jared Goff is as consistent as they come. Look to acquire him. He's solid here, okay? I mean, this is good stuff, what we saw from him yesterday. I mean, he's got MVP written all over him. Good offense, right? Geno Smith, I don't really care for. Brock Purdy, I'm not really crazy on. I still think Jordan Love is the real deal. I think it's someone you would definitely want to possibly consider targeting. Sam Darnold, I'm not, again, when I looked at my bets, my props this week, and I looked at the spread, I'm like, man, Detroit's a team to get. I knew that Darnold was, doing okay in fantasy, but they're going to lose that game. Their luck was just running out. I still think that the Vikings are a bit of a pretender team. I don't know about you guys. Drop it below. Let me know what you guys think. Are the Vikings for real? Let me know. I still think that they got a lot of holes in their game, and people are going to catch on to them. Okay. Trevor Lawrence, good. These are the guys that did well this week. Now, let's talk about some of the guys that suck this week. I really want to address here. Kirk Cousins didn't have the good week, 7.2 fantasy points. Not the greatest week out of him. So, when you look at a guy like Kirk Cousins, you're like, man, I mean, I'm expecting more out of Kirk Cousins. Just didn't have the game that we anticipated or thought he would have. So, Kirk Cousins, and that was the only one I got wrong when I'm looking at the sports bets. Kirk Cousins just not doing well. Daniel Jones, what a bust. He got pulled from the game. CJ Stroud, only 5.3 fantasy points. Really unacceptable. Jaden Daniels got pulled. And Deshaun Watson with the injury. I want to talk a little bit about that. Some people were booing him coming off. And it's all the stuff that he did in the offseason, in the the time he wasn't on the field, with those allegations, with the women and the massages. A lot of people don't like this guy, including myself. I'm not a fan. Now, I'm not cheering on the fact that he's injured, but I am cheering on the fact that that's the best thing that could have happened to him, because he just hasn't been playing good. So an injury is the best thing to happen to him, because now he's saving himself more embarrassment, okay? So, again, I'm not a fan of Deshaun Watson. He did get banged up, 5.1 fantasy points last week. And he's just years to wow us. He's not good. I would say the suck of the week here is CJ Stroud, 5.3 fantasy points, and we got Anthony Richardson, 8.8. Guys, I hate to break it to you, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Anthony Richardson, if you haven't traded him away yet, you need to do that right now. I don't know if anybody wants him at this point. I told you to trade him away. Like, I told you not to draft him, but now at this point, you want to get rid of Anthony Richardson as soon as possible. He's not good. At this point, I think people are starting to finally see what I've been saying the entire offseason. He's not good. He's not going to be good. He had some upside, but he hasn't lived up to that hype. You need to trade him away, and you need to do that immediately. So I would say that he is the suck of the week. Daniel Jones is the suck of the week. I would say Kirk Cousins is the suck of the week. Deshaun Watson, Jaden Daniels getting hurt. He's a suck of the week. Injuries do count, guys. I like Jaden Daniels. I think he's great talent. But if you're not on the field, dude, like, I don't know what to tell you, man. You're not doing well, okay? So you got to get on the field. Now, I want to talk about this top player here in fantasy at the running back position is Jahmyr Gibbs. So I don't know if you saw that game, but David Montgomery was out with an injury. Like, he was basically on the shoulders of the trainers. He hobbled. I thought he was done for the season. And unfortunately, he came back into the game. Now, he did fumble at the end of the game, but I've been saying this, I've been screaming this at the top of my lungs here, is that Jahmyr Gibbs is the best fantasy running back if you just take away David Montgomery, and the fact that he's hindering him away. Every time Jahmyr Gibbs, I want to make a point of this, I want you guys to understand, every time Jahmyr Gibbs touches the ball, he has a potential explosive play that he could accomplish. Every time David Montgomery touches the ball, he's taken away from a potential explosive play that Jahmyr Gibbs could have. As soon as Montgomery was out, Jahmyr Gibbs got the ball, and that could have been a play that David Montgomery would have had, and he exploded for a touchdown. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, Jahmyr Gibbs is so good, and yet they hinder him and they hold him back because of, David Montgomery. David Montgomery sucks. He is just a bruiser. He can get the ball down the field. He's basic. Jahmyr Gibbs is the Lambo, okay? And I'm telling you, man, it's like the best thing that can happen to Jahmyr Gibbs owners is a David Montgomery injury. I can't believe he came back. I thought he was done for the season, okay? Unfortunately not. And people are like, well, how do you wish injuries? It's not that I wish injuries. I just want him off the field. Ideally, in an ideal world, I'd love to see David Montgomery on the bench. I don't want him to get hurt. I just want him on the bench. I don't want him on the field. I want Jahmyr Gibbs on the field. I got a little bit of Jahmyr Gibbs stock, okay? I also got Saquon Barkley stock. He's another guy that did well. Awesome on him. Saquon Barkley, 26.7 fantasy points, consistent. He was my first-round pick across the board because I was drafting from the 8th and 12th position. Very, very happy, doing well in my leagues. Joe Mixon, Javonte Williams having a game of his life here. I just don't see that being consistent with Javonte, but he had himself a good week. Breece Hall, Tank Bigsby, this is another guy you want to consider trading for. We'll talk about it at the end. Kenneth Walker, Bijay, Kareem Hunt, Aaron Jones. I'm just not sold on Aaron Jones finishing the season. He's already been banged up a little bit. He did well. He broke up for that touchdown run. I just don't see that being consistent. Definitely a stud of the week for sure. Guys that are crap in the bed this week. Let's talk about James Cook. Had himself a bad week. I'm telling you, man, now that they're going to be throwing more, James Cook is just not going to continue the way that he did at the beginning of the season. 9.2 fantasy points. David Montgomery having a bust week, 8.4. Got hurt a bit. Chase Brown, Ramondre Stevenson, he's just not that good. 4.5 fantasy points. Again, Stevenson in a good situation, just not getting it done. I don't know what to say, man. Just sucks. Zamir White, 3.7. He absolutely sucks. Devin Singletary, I told you not to draft him. 3.1 fantasy points. He sucks. I'm trying to see if there's anyone else here that sucked here. Austin Eckler should have done better. 4.2 points. Zach Moss. Remember I told you at the beginning of the year, fake RB1s? There it is, man. Zach Moss, 7 fantasy points. Just they're not true RB1s. Nick Chubb on his debut, 10.2 fantasy points. Chuba Hubbard, 11.7. I think he's a pretender. Najee, 16.6. Not bad. So you can see, guys, again, Derrick Henry should be here in the top 10 after tonight's game. But I want to talk about this. At the beginning of the season, I said, you got to avoid these fake RB1s. They're not real. They're just like the guys that are slotted in as RB1s, like, Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. They're just not that good. Tony Pollard, even 8.5 fantasy points, not really that good. You got to be careful, guys, of the pretenders. Now, at the end, I'm going to give you guys a guy that people think, is a sleeper that you want to acquire. I'm going to talk about it at the end. But when you look at the studs and sucks, you can see the guys that are the real deal. The Breece Hall, the Jameer Gibbs, the Saquon Barkley, the Bijay in the top 10. And then you have other guys slot in once in a while in the top 10. Your Javonte gets in there once in a while. Kareem Hunt, Aaron Jones has his injuries kind of come in. You got to get as much consistency as you can at this position, and you do that by going top heavy in a position that's going the way of the dinosaur, which is the running back position. You want to get those running backs, okay? I'm going to move on to the wide receiver position. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, smash, tap it, slap it, and also head on over to our partner, mybookie.ag. This is the site I use, the site I trust for all my sports bets, guys. Use code FFC upon sign up and deposit, and you're going to get 100% match deposit. Put 100 in, you're going to get 100% match deposit. Mybookie.ag. The code you want to use, FFC. Guys, go create an account. This is going to enhance your game watching experience. We got 2 games tonight. Go put down a deposit, and they're going to match. You put 100 in, they're going to give you 100. If you put 200, they're going to give you 200. It's like free coin, right? And, guys, it's up to $1,000. So mybookie.ag, the code you want to use, FFC. Go create an account right now. I love this site. And of course, if you guys want my picks, the Counselor's Edge below. I've linked it below, guys, for all of my picks. And again, I only missed I think 2 or 3 this week on the straight up, man. Crushing it with my picks. People are happy and they're cashing up big coins. So Counselor's Edge, and the site you want to play on is mybookie.ag. Use code FFC. All right, let's go to the wide receivers, the studs and sucks. And again, remember, stay to the end of the video. I'm going to give you guys my 5 favorite that I got to have on my team right now, okay? Let's go through this. Amon-Ra St. Brown, good week. George Pickens looking great. That's speaking of which, you might want to trade for George Pickens. Russell Wilson and him are connecting. Look at this, 9 targets, 5 receptions. This is a guy you want to target for right now in a world where wide receiver ones are now starting to become the way of the dinosaur. So try to get him. Brian Thomas, I told you to draft this guy, 22.1 points. Jefferson, Metcalf. I think Metcalf went off with an injury. Check that out. It should be good, though. A.J. Brown, Drake London, T. Higgins, Cedric Tillman, Cedric Wilson. I mean, these are the pretenders here, like Cleveland, Cedric Tillman, 18 points. You got 12 targets. Is it sustainable? Again, when you got Watson out and someone else coming in, they're going to start feeding a random target. It just happens, right? Now, I haven't looked at all the injuries right now. So, again, I'm going to be doing more shows, getting you up to date in the starts and sits with all the injuries. This is a more focus on the pretenders, the guys that are real, and just kind of going over the studs and sucks, okay? Romeo Doubs, the guy you want to trade for immediately. I mean, like I talked about this before the season started. He is the one. Look at this, 10 targets. 8 receptions, 17.4 points, finishing 12th, again, excluding the Monday game. And I talked about this. And last week, he had the 2 touchdowns, finishing 11th amongst wide receivers. He is really emerging as the wide receiver, which I've spoken about many times. And he was coming off in around 9 and 10. Just amazing stuff. Exactly what I predicted is coming to fruition. And look at this, guys. Believe it or not, Keon Coleman, 14th, 7 targets, 4 receptions. And he would have had way more fantasy points. He had a touchdown that was pulled back. I think he didn't get his second foot, and it was very close. It was called a touchdown, and then it was pulled back. But Keon Coleman, man, I'm telling you, I mean, he should have been doing way better. He just hasn't been. I think it gets better with Amari Cooper there because, again, Amari's going to be seeing the top target. It's going to open things up for Keon Coleman, okay? So those are your top 10 guys. A couple guys, let's go through some guys that crap the bed here. Calvin Ridley, at this point, you want to trade him away. 7.3 points, just not getting it done. A lot of people thought Bub Means on New Orleans would do stuff with all the injuries. Only 6.7 points. He's a pretender, man. I'm telling you guys, okay? Ayuk looks like he's done for the season. We're not talking injuries. That injury popped out to me, and I told you to avoid Ayuk. He was a 3rd-round pick, and I said, don't draft Ayuk. He's not that good. Don't draft Ayuk. He's not that good. Don't draft Ayuk. He's not that good. And sure enough, guys, you're seeing it. Now he gets hurt, and he wasn't doing good to begin anyway. So that's the best thing that could have happened to him. Just crapped the bed and just sucked. Wasted a 3rd-round pick. I told you to avoid him. He sucks, man. I don't know what else to say. And another guy here, Malik Neighbors didn't have a good week, 8.3 fantasy points. You might want to buy low on him. I still think he's great. He complained after the game saying something about, he basically threw Daniel Jones on the bus. He's like, I was open, throw me the ball. I don't know the exact quote. But you definitely want to consider maybe buying in him right now. See, Jaden Reed, everyone's saying he was the one. He had a bad week this week, 3 fantasy points. Not good at all. Alec Pierce, 3.7. Ayuk, like I said. Devontae Adams, only 6.5 on his debut. Stephon Diggs, even with Nico out, 7.3 fantasy points. I would give it to him as a suck of the week for sure. Addison, not the greatest, 9.6 points. So a lot of guys crap in the bed. As you can see here, as a sleeper here, might want to get. I just saw Troy Franklin. Where is he? I thought I saw him doing pretty good. Go check out Troy Franklin's stock. Where is he here now? I lost him. I thought I saw Troy Franklin here. Kind of emerging as a sleeper. Not a guy I'm overly excited about. 10 points. Yeah, there he is right here. 10 fantasy points. Troy Franklin, again, not that exciting. Oh, so those are the wide receivers. Again, at the end, I'm going to give you guys the one that you guys got to get right now. Let's move on to the tight end position. A lot of guys, crap in the bed, typical tight end. Pat Freiermuth, only 7.1 fantasy points, not the greatest, right? Kincaid, 8.2. There's Pat Freiermuth, 7.1, not the greatest, right? Kelsey, only 5.7 fantasy points, really unacceptable for a guy who's supposed to be a tight end 1. The guys that do well, Njoku, Geno Smith, I just think he's a bit of a pretender. Brock Bowers, Hunter Henry, George Kittle, Zach Ertz, Kyle Pitts, Tucker Kraft, Shavian Sanders, and Tyler Conklin. I think Conklin's a safe guy, kind of week in, week out. You may want to try to get on your roster. But again, they got more targets there, so he's going to see a little bit less. Ben Sinnott finally get going, 8.6 fantasy points, 2 targets, 2 receptions. He did get that touchdown. It is kind of his first touchdown of the year. Laporta not doing. I say Sam Laporta is kind of the suck of the week. 3.5 fantasy points, really, really unacceptable for a guy like Laporta. But again, we've seen that offense kind of do some different things, get Jahmyr Gibbs involved more, Jameson Williams. It's just been a bit of a different offense. And Sam Laporta is just not a part of it. He was a good 10th round pick last year, but this year everybody wanted him in the second round. And his value has dropped, okay? So that's not good. Now, I want to go over these 5 favorite here, and I say Laporta is a suck of the week. I'm going to go over these 5 guys you got to get right now. And again, some of them are on people's radar. Obviously, they're doing well, but you want to make sure you try to trade for them because it just looks good down the road. Okay, let's go for these 5 here. Number 1 at quarterback is Jared Goff. Like I said, he's looking at a amazing year, MVP type candidate. That offense only gets better. You saw what they did with Minnesota. They're just getting better. He's got his weapons. He's got a great offense here. Jared Goff is safe, solid. And if you need a quarterback and you need security at this position where there's a lot of volatility in this position with injuries like Anthony Richardson, we talked about Jaden Daniels having an injury this week. Jordan Love got hurt earlier in the season. He's kind of back to good right now, back to normal. But even this position has a little bit of uncertainty. Jared Goff, it could be a staple on your team. You want to try to get him. At the running back position, take Bigsby. I still think he's under the radar. ATN is not good. He never was great. And now he's dealing with injuries. And Bigsby's come in and has lit it up. Now, I would think that if the Jacksonville Jaguars want to continue to win and start pulling out a string of wins, they want to use their best players. So Bigsby's that guy. He runs hard. He runs strong. Mind you, he had a bad week last week. He's just a guy that, he's kind of on and off, but I still think he's really good. He's going to get you some value, and you can still trade for a big name like Devin Otchain. Give me Otchain, I'll give you, give me Bigsby, I'll give you Otchain. I'll give you an example, right? That's an example of it, right? Or Montgomery. I'd rather have Bigsby than Montgomery because Bigsby's trending to be the 1, whereas Montgomery is going to be the 2, even though he's a committee. Gibbs it shows every time he touches the ball, he's the better out of the backs. And that fumble didn't make Montgomery look good. I'm just giving you an example. I'm not a Montgomery fan. And the size of the injuries and the fumbles and Gibbs just being so much better. That's why I avoided Montgomery. And like I said, Bigsby, you might want to try to get him, okay? Wide receiver, I do like Romeo Doubs. Try to get this guy. Finished 12th, like I said, this week. 11th the week before. Emerging as the one. It's the guy I told you to draft on all your rosters. He's the one. He's a startable guy every single week with, like I said, Jordan Love, full strength. You might want to try to target Romeo Doubs, okay? Tight end, you want to get Brock Bowers. He's going to be a tough sell. He's going to be one of the harder ones to get, but look to get him on your team. And Breece Hall, he's had a slow start to the season. Now he's finally into the groove with the distraction that is Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson on the outside. It's going to open things up for Breece Hall, who's absolutely going to run wild for the rest of the season. So look to get Breece Hall. And then you say, well, Joel, it's not easy. But dude, you could convince some people to get Breece Hall. You could convince some people to get Tank Bigsby or even Jared Goff. Some of these guys, aside from Breece Hall and Brock Bowers, who are really crushing it, you could convince somebody to get Romeo Doubs. But if you got to pay a little bit more, I think, for Brock Bowers and Breece Hall if you want them. but you can still convince people if you make the right offer and get some of those pretenders on top. There's a lot of pretenders we just talked about, guys, that people are just buying into, that just are pretenders for that week and that are going to crap the bed moving forward, right? So try to sell high, like Javonte Williams. If you got him, sell high on him, 26.1 fantasy points, right? There's a lot of guys here that I mentioned. Aaron Jones, he had a top 10 week. Sell him right now. He was hurt last week. He's going to get hurt again. Sell high on these guys and get some of the other players that could actually help you win your leagues, all right? Fantasy Football Week 8. If you have any stars and sits questions, drop them below. Make sure you guys are subscribed. I appreciate you guys being here. Smash it, tap it, slap it. Hope you guys have an outstanding day. And those are the studs and sucks. It's volatile, guys. It is crazy. Make sure you guys are subscribed here so you're light years ahead of the sheep. Smash it, tap it, slap it. Appreciate you. I'm out.